All right, I think we can go ahead and jump in and get started with some introductions. Welcome everyone to our GIA board fireside chat. Today we are pleased to be joined by two exciting board members and one of our brand new board members who you heard about this morning. And so first, let me do a couple of introductions here. We have Diana Rodriguez. She is the 16th Chancellor of the San Bernardino Community College District. She leads the district's educational enterprise that generates economic growth for the Inland Empire, as well as she's the only Latina chancellor of a community college district in Southern California. We are very excited to have her with us today. And we also have Paul Granillo. He is the president and CEO of the Inland Empire Economic Partnership. He was born and raised in Redlands and became president and CEO of IEP back in 2010. And also serves as chair of Mobility 21 and the California Stewardship Network. And we are fortunate that IEP was the program sponsor for GIA for many years and is a founding board member. Paul has been a great supporter of all of the educational work and ensuring that the education and economic and workforce development components are connected. So really excited to have both of you here with us today. Thank you for sharing of some time and your knowledge of the work that we all are attempting to do in the region. And so I'm going to get started with our first question. And just as a note to the participants, if you do have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll have an opportunity for a few questions from the audience at the very end. So our first question, and I'll start with you, Diana, if that's all right. How does your organization work to help support student success from cradle to career?
Great. Thank you, Emery, and thank you for the generous introduction. I appreciate it. So, at San Bernardino Community College District, which includes two colleges, Crafton Hills College and San Bernardino Valley College, we take the concept of cradle to career extremely seriously, right, in all that we do. Right? Not only do we offer more than 140 workforce training programs and transfer pathways to four-year colleges and universities in our local area and abroad, right? But we're also proud that we have two child development centers within our district, one at each campus, where we offer preschool programs for children ages 3 to 5 years old. And before the pandemic, right, we had the honor of hosting California's first Surgeon General, right, Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, at one of our child center programs or in one of our departments there. And as you know, the Surgeon General is nationally recognized pediatrician, and her visit really underscored our belief that the community colleges aren't just places of higher education. We truly do have programs for everyone from cradle to career. And the community colleges are also a part of a safety net, right, for all ages, backgrounds, income levels to receive basic need resources, right? For example, food, mental health services and support, COVID-19 testing, and vaccinations in the recent months. So when I think about cradle to career, for me, it's not just academics, although that is a large portion of what we do. Our students have basic needs, and if they're hungry or homeless, they can't learn at their best. Right? So we think about the next 5 years or so, our district, we recognize that providing students with access to affordable housing and proper nutrition is part of our mission, right? A critical part of our mission. And we're currently in conversations with state policymakers and affordable housing experts to see how we might be able to break ground on student housing within our district. And all of this is a part of our commitment to our community and serving our students. And as you know, the question states, from cradle to career.
Thank you so much, Diana. Paul, same question. How does your organization work to help support student success from cradle to career?
So IEP is a public-private partnership in that we have members that are in the private sector and the public sector. And they tend to be the large employers of the region. And this issue of cradle to career is very important to them, right? They're doing business here, they live here, and so it affects them personally. Now, because they are employers, the career piece is obviously extremely important. And we do a lot of work in trying to help our education partners understand the needs of the employer community. And, we have members in various sectors of the economy. So in healthcare and logistics and manufacturing. And they each have unique needs. And when it comes to educational outcomes. And we also have to understand that they have unique cultures. And some of them are going to be very dependent and looking for individuals that have specific skills and certifications. And some of them are going to be looking for just people that are well-rounded and that they can bring into their culture and train them up. And I think that discussion is even more important today. The Brookings Institute had put a date of 2035 to when our region would start to see job loss due to automation. And because of COVID-19, that date has been moved up to right now. So employers are making decisions to use robotics and artificial intelligence and virtual reality. And those are going to have an impact on jobs that people are going to be able to get. We as a region, and I think that this will be, needs to be an incredibly important part of this cradle to career discussion. We as a region need to come together now to deal with that issue. Because if we don't, we're going to lose opportunities to have career paths in certain sectors. So our organization, very focused. They care a lot about this. Anne Marie, as you said, it was the members of IEP early on working with the College Futures Foundation that were asked to try and bring together a collaborative that eventually became GIA. And that was not easy work. That was not easy work. There was not a history of the educational institutions working together. There was a lot of not working together. Let's just put it that way. And so GIA, it took a lot to get it going. But it was also the galvanizing, and from my perspective, because I watched it, of the employer community that said, come on, we need this, right? And we need it now. And we can't have another meeting to have a meeting. We need to make a decision that we're going to move forward with GIA. And I'm glad that they did that.
I am too, actually, not just because I work here, but we see the impact that it can have in regional work. And it leads me really well, Paul, into the next question. So I'm going to throw it to you first, really regarding why these regional intersegmental partnerships are so critical to this work.
So, my organization is a 501c6, and under the 501c6, we do advocacy in Washington and Sacramento. And we do that because that's where resources are and that's where policy is made. And then we're also a 501c3 education foundation that was actually created to make sure that the employer community was active in the discussion about education and workforce in the region. I say that because that takes me to a lot of different tables nationally and statewide and within Southern California. And we have to realize that Southern California is a country unto itself, right? Early on in my job at IEP, as I went to many of these tables, I realized, because I was told that, it's good that the IE is here, right? You haven't been here, and we need you to be a part of this. And I started to see how the fracture in leadership from the Inland Empire was. And I think in the last 10 years, we've gotten much better. Certainly, GIA is an example of that. The Growing Inland Achievement Initiative is part of that. It is incredibly important that we not live in silos, that we work together, because other regions are. Okay, I can tell you that other regions, they're members of the legislature. Before they start the legislative year, they come together and they create a set of a list of bills that they're going to carry. And they walk into the legislature on day one, already starting to trade back and forth, knowing that they're going to trade back and forth in order to get some of those across the finish line. We need to do, and it is starting to happen, we need to act in the same way. We need to prioritize, we need to see the long game, and we need to know what each other's issues are. For a region of our size, 4.6 million people, and that was what the census said, and that was a year ago. If everything holds, we've already grown by 70,000 people this year, which means we just passed Louisiana, and we'd be the 24th largest state in the nation. And so if we're not working together, as the wise lady says, you're either at the table or you're on the menu. And we need to make sure that we're at the table.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that. Along those lines, Diana, I'm thinking, why you, as the Chancellor of the community college system and your engagement in community colleges, see these regional intersegmental partnerships so critical to the work.
Yeah. As Paul stated so well, no one entity in the Inland Empire, right, can do this alone. No one has enough resources to address all the needs, right? And we recognize at our district that we don't have all of the resources we need to serve the whole student, right? All of our students. So working collaboratively is essential for all of us to move forward, especially if we're serious about realizing our collective vision that by 2035, our region will be widely recognized for our well-known educated workforce and thriving economy. Dr. Ayala spoke to that in his opening statement, right? And one area I'm incredibly thankful for GIA's partnership is around promoting college affordability, especially advocating for Cal Grant reform. So as we know, tuition is not the only thing, right, that is a challenge for students. Students also need food, housing, books, transportation, and the list goes on. But the current financial aid awards have not kept up with the inflation or the rising cost of living for our students and in our communities, right? So AB 1456, right, by Assembly Member Medina, McCartney, and Senator Leyva, right, is going to do wonders to change that situation for our students. This bill modernizes our Cal Grant system to provide more financial aid dollars to more students, including adult learners who have been left out of the opportunity for a long time, right, and who are interested in returning to our colleges and gain new skills to enter the new workforce, right? AB 1456 would also make financial aid less confusing for our students. If any of you have participated in filling out the forms, it is daunting, right? With AB 1456, we'll be creating two grant categories, a Cal Grant 2 for community college students and a Cal Grant 4 for Cal State and UC students. And we're excited that the bill is now on the governor's desk, awaiting for his signature. And we're pretty optimistic that it's going to go forward. But the idea of Cal Grant reform, right, didn't just happen. It took intersegmental partnerships and a broad coalition of students, educators, nonprofit organizations, business leaders, and many others to build the momentum around fixing our financial aid system to serve more and more students And when we do that, and more students can take advantage of these opportunities, we will see more students in our colleges and more prepared students entering our workforce.
Thank you very much, Diana. And speaking of GIA's CEO, Carlos Ayala's remarks this morning, he described the collective impact approach to this regional work.
Yes.
We're interested in how you personally model that collaborative leadership style in your own work.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree that none of us can be as successful as we can without partnerships, right? And I take great pride in involving the community in our work. We want to know from our community what they want to learn as potential students. We want to know from our business community what it is they need from our students to be successful in their organizations, right? And therefore, we truly value the work of our many advisory groups that we have working with us throughout our district. And also, we take also pride in partnering with our elected officials and government agencies. Coming up, we'll be partnering with our local elected officials to host financial aid workshops for the students and potential students in our region. So we will be elbow to elbow with our elected officials working on this. In higher education, continuously building articulation agreements that will help our students in the seamless transfer process, and partnering with grant opportunities so that our students get more exposure to hands-on activities and information. We share the vision of collective impact, and we will, as a district, continue to model a collaborative leadership to help our region move forward.
Thank you so much, Diana. Paul, the same thing, and I've personally experienced your own collective impact approach when we've worked on various projects together. And I'm curious if you could share to the audience, how do you continue to personally model that for your team and to the region?
Yeah, I think it's important in today's world and today's economy to be working across sectors, with different people. It just makes life more fun. And from my perspective, what we do at IEP is not traditional economic development. We're very much focused on the triple bottom line, that the best decisions get made when you are taking into consideration the social equity, the environment, and the economy. Okay, and that's not easy. Okay, that means there's a tension. There's going to be automatic tensions from those three perspectives. But if you go into a situation and you're working collaboratively and you have that as your framework, I've seen great things happen. And so that's really been the driving force for us, our involvement in the California Stewardship Network, which brings together like-minded regional groups. I'm actually not with them right now because I'm with you guys as they're doing their gathering. And again, we don't understand what we don't know, right? And so we can talk about the issue of water. And if you put that in a statewide lens, there are partners of ours in the Stewardship Network in Northern California that think that we got to get rid of our swimming pools and our golf courses because we're draining their watershed, right? Well, they need to come down here and see the Inland Empire and what we're about and what we do, and you have to get to know each other so that then you can attack issues together that are big issues like water, okay? So cross-collaborative, cross-sector, hugely important. And like I said, it's hard work because it's not top down. It's got to come from the grassroots, right? But it leads to better decision making.
Thank you so much, Paul. Diana, being that you are the the newest member of the GIA board, I'm going to put this next question to you. You know, prior to joining the board, you have made this very strong commitment to supporting the Inland Empire region through cross-sector collaboration, and are continuing that commitment by joining the board. I'm curious what words of advice you might offer to motivate and empower not only your employees, but also colleagues to think regionally and work collectively beyond the boundaries of their organization.
Sure, absolutely. You know, again, I've had, as you mentioned, I've had the honor to being appointed recently to the board, and I'm thrilled about that. But during my tenure as president of Valley College, I recognized the critical work that GIA has done in the region. And I have to say that perhaps one of the silver linings of this terrible pandemic that has forced each of us to reflect on what really matters in our work and in our lives. Right. It's reminded us of our shared humanity and interconnectedness and how we need to do our part, large or small, right, for the greater good. So I realize that it's not always easy to think regionally or to think about the greater good. But when we have our own especially when we have our own set of challenges at home, at work, but I think we need to continue to be optimistic. And I challenge the colleagues to do the same. Right. I don't think people pursue careers, in my field in education for the paycheck, so to speak. There are other fields and industries with more generous salaries and benefits. But the work in education, right, is so meaningful. We work in education because we want to make a positive impact on the lives of others. And we'll make more significant and longer lasting impact if we work together, right, for the students, the families, and communities that put their trust in us. So my message is that we need to continue to work together across all sectors, right, for all of the reasons that Paul mentioned. Right? And I think when we do that, and when we come out of the pandemic, or as we continue to move in that direction, we'll be able to provide greater opportunities for our communities and help lift the Inland Empire.
Thank you, Diana, for that. Paul, I'm curious in your role as a founding GIA board member, as you work with others in your field, what do you talk about when you try to get them to also engage in this collaborative work, and potentially other advice you might give to others based on that experience?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I think we need to live in reality, okay? And the reality is that business often, business and education work at different speeds, okay? I'll use a transportation analogy, right? To build a road takes a long time, okay? And there's a reason for that. You just don't throw down, bulldoze something and then throw down cement or asphalt, right? You have to think about the time how long is this road going to last? What's the capacity of this road? What's the infrastructure under this road, right? So that means that the transportation agency is obviously going to take a long time to do that, right? The business, right, just wants a road, okay? And they got to move a truck down the road. And so education and business often work at different speeds. And that can be a choke point for us. And so we really need to appreciate each other. From my perspective, I've made it a rule that I don't invite my members to meetings where there's not going to be some type of an outcome, or that their time is going to be valued. And because the axiom that time is money is very true, right? And that's not to look, I don't think we need to look down on the employer community, right? They need to have a profit in order to pay salaries, in order to grow. There's a whole, to be in business, it has a lot of economic pressures, right? While education often struggles for financing, that financing is coming from the taxpayer, okay? And that's not the case for business. They have to make that, right? So we have to appreciate each other. We have to appreciate each other's requirements, each other's struggles, and then we can come into the room and have a conversation and be successful. So my first recommendation is, let's be honest with what we're about and where we're coming from. Let's respect each other. And then, as Diana said very well, right? We got to think about the higher mission, right? The higher mission is the students, it's the people, it's the quality of life that education gives to individuals, and it's about our region. And so we have to have that as a shared value, and the rest we can get past.
Thank you for that. And so I think this will end up probably being the last question before we open it up to the floor for others. So Diana, to you first. We're curious about how you can reinforce to employees and colleagues that their leader, quote unquote, has their back when it comes to working on regional initiatives that, may not be part of their typical institutional job description, but as you've already said, is really important to our overall mission in the region.
Yeah, and I think that's important that we support our employees in that area. Right now is an exciting time within our community college district. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the new chancellor, but we're getting ready to launch our district-wide strategic planning process, both from a district perspective and our individual colleges, right? That's going to shape our services and programs for the next 10 years. And so this is important. And one of the areas I believe that is critical to our student success is elevating our regional engagement with business, education, and our community partners, right? In this past August, mid-August, we held our annual faculty and staff convocation to kick off our new academic year. And there I shared one of the goals of making a regional engagement a part of our culture. Right? It's what we want to do on an ongoing basis. And regardless of their job description, I believe everyone on our team can grow and contribute to our mission when we think and when we act regionally. Right. To give you some examples, we have one of our managers, I'll just give first names, Emma, who is becoming a national leader in the area of adult education and has established herself statewide as a leader in thought around that area. Angel is participating on our Student Aid Commission. Sharaf is leading the way in helping meeting the needs of our basic needs of our students. And when you look at these individuals and their job descriptions, none of that is in there, right? But they know that it's important to our community and it's important to the work that we do. We're not waiting to start and finish that strategic plan process that I mentioned to start acting regional. We have team members like the ones I just mentioned, that others are that are taking the initiative in doing that. And, I have their back in the work that they want to do. And I hope they know that because this is what we're going to need in order to move our district forward and to be true partners in our community.
Thank you so much for that, Diana. I think, Paul, in your role in leading a regional organization focused on working with businesses, how do you think about yourself as a CEO and how other CEOs might help to ensure that the employees feel that leadership, quote unquote, has their back when they work on these regional initiatives?
Yeah, I think the frame that's worked for me is that of a steward, right? And a steward is somebody that cares about their place. Okay, my family has been in Redlands for over 120 years. Okay, so in my 53 years, I have seen the region change dramatically. Right, for those of you in San Bernardino, there was no hospitality lane. Right, there was the Tri-City Airport, and a lot of cow pasture when you were on the 10 freeway going from Loma Linda to San Bernardino, right? And then the citrus groves, right? And now we are this logistics empire, right? So that has changed. And so I think being a steward of place and acting and leading out of a stewardship mindset means that you know your home, you know who lives here, you know what their struggles are, and that makes you better able to communicate about your place and your needs. And we have to be honest about our region's size, right? The size of bigger than 26 states. Really, people don't think like that. We have to be honest about educational attainment. Of regions of over 1 million, we still have the lowest baccalaureate attainment. That's why GIA was created. And that puts restrictions on our ability to grow our economy. We're the 5th largest Latino population in the United States. We need to be honest about that, and we need to be investing in a way that's going to make changes. Because if we talk about having the lowest baccalaureate attainment for regions of over 1 million, for our Hispanic population, it's about 9%. We have to deal with the reality. And so I think stewardship mindset, know the region, care about the region, and that gives you validity when it comes to working with others and building partnerships, because they know that you're doing it for all the right reasons.
Thank you for that, Paul. I'm opening it up for questions, and in the chat, we have a question from Eartha from Barstow College, and she asks, and I'll direct this to you first, Diana, can you recommend any type of training for administrators that would encourage them to lead with empathy and positivity so they could have a better buy-in from faculty, staff, and students so that morale is not eroded and that people feel affirmed?
Yeah, I can speak from an educational perspective. You know, a dean once told me, and I don't know where it originated from, but I'm going to give him credit for it, where he said, you know, individuals don't care how much you know until they know you care, right? And, you know, and Paul just said you have to care about the community and the region, right? And I think when you lead with that, when you genuinely lead with that, people know, and they're willing to work on the initiatives that you would like them to work on, right? But as far as training, ACA, an organization within the community colleges, does some phenomenal workshops and training. I would get involved there with them. Also, there's a number of organizations that also help in leading organizations, specifically working with individuals of color, right? There's the A2 Men organization, and there's also Coligas and APAHI. I would look to those organizations. They put on phenomenal workshops that I think really help leaders, especially new leaders, get established in their careers.
Thank you, Diana. Paul, any thoughts on training for staff administrators, talking about empathy, positivity, along the lines of your stewardship leaders comment earlier?
Yeah, you know, I think that the mindset is, you know, why are you doing this, right? I mean, don't take a job where you're not happy, okay? Or that you're just, you know, counting the days till retirement, right? Do something, you only got so many breaths. So, you know, make sure that you're trying to do the best you can with the life you've been given, and the rest will follow. And so when we look at leadership, you know, Anne-Marie, you've been through our Leadership Academy. And it was started to help future leaders in the public and private sector understand our region, right? You can't understand warehouses and trucks in the Inland Empire unless you understand the ports, right? And so I think knowledge is important, but part of that is also trying to understand what it means to be a leader, right? And that's to have a vision, right? That's to help be a mentor. And so in my work, I take the mentorship piece extremely seriously. And IEP is a launching ground for many young people that come to us. They have an opportunity to work with the region's leaders, get to know them, to see them in action, to see what it takes to sit at a table and grapple with big issues, but be respectful of other opinions. And that's why then they become so valuable. And public sector comes and takes them away from me, right? Because I'm a small nonprofit. Yeah, only so many breaths, right?
Fair point. In the last 2 minutes that we have, I just want to throw it to either of you if there's any last comment that you would like to share with the group around this regionalism conversation.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the group and for all that showed up to this workshop. I think it shows your commitment to thinking regionally, and it shows that you're interested in wanting to help and make a difference in our communities. And I appreciate that. And thank you, Anne-Marie, for your work in pulling this together. We appreciate you. So thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Paul, any last words?
Just thank everybody for getting on today. I think be supportive of GIA and what they're trying to do. They want to bring us all together, right? And together we're stronger, and together we can change what needs to be changed in our educational system in the region, and that will again create better lives for people and a better and stronger regional economy. So that would be it.
All right. Well, thank you so much to both of you for your time this morning, for your insights. We are so grateful for that. For those of you participating, thank you for your time, your listening, your questions. And we now head into a break, which is great for all of us. And then we have some great workshops for the rest of the day. Hope to see you in one of those. Thank you both again so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.